Wait, where's... Oh no! Delicious Party Precure has reached its halfway point. Feels like just yesterday when we missed 5 whole episodes thanks to the Toei animation hack. The 3rd year in a row where a decent chunk of episodes are omitted. I just want to share my thoughts, how I'm liking it, how are you liking it, without giving a whole recap, but mostly just analyzing what we've been given so far. I figured the best way to do this would be to go through each of the characters this season. We have Amane. She was introduced as the student council president. The average Precure viewer could figure out fairly quickly that she was actually gentle. So the basis of her introduction as a mid-season cure is a brainwashing story, which I already have mixed opinions on. I think the brainwashing story kind of presents the opportunity to lessen the blow of their damage as a villain because it wasn't actually them, which is something that literally does happen in this season. However, Amane still feels much guilt and remorse, similar to Setsuna, to Toa, even Ruru in seasons prior. So it's still a heartbreaking display. I mean, I still cried. Like, I don't think I've seen any mid-season transformation in which I haven't cried during it. And I even made these parfaits in her honor for her debut. I did like that Amane came to her own resolve to become a cure, and it wasn't as though they were pressuring her. And she's also been confirmed as a gold cure. I almost said the first. I mean, is she the first? Anywho, she has a whole bunch of colors on her, but gold is her primary color, as confirmed by the character designer. She's just so purple. Like, she's so purple. But we're like, it's whatever. What I hope to see more of, her personality. I'm sure that we're gonna see more of it now that she's appeared and now that she's a part of the team. Most of her time was dedicated to the brainwashing story, which was understandable to focus on. So I hope to see more of her interactions with the girls and whatnot. Next up is Takumi. Takumi's introduced as Yui's childhood friend, and he has a small, unrequited crush on her as of right now. And immediately we could tell from the opening that he would play a larger role in the series than past young male characters have played. So that was really exciting to see from the opening. Because of this, he did have a bit of an advantage over Amane as far as my interest level, because it was something that hasn't been done before. I'm always gonna love a mid-season cure, but this was just something new, like something to spice things, not to spice things up. Not only that, but he had some already established connection with the main cast from the beginning, and that was something that Amane lacked, which I think I should go into. I think if Amane's personality and story and connection with the group were established earlier on in the story, I would have felt much more invested. Like how Setsuna appears from episode 1 as this antagonist who's playing both sides but really deceiving the good side, and how Toa is a missing figure and Kanata is trying to find her. And Amane doesn't have a strong setup like this. Maybe it's the fault of the omitted episodes, but unfortunately it's something that we're just never gonna know. About Takumi, we also learned that Takumi's father, who we'll talk about more in the storytelling, has some connection to the Cookingdom, and that's how Takumi comes to transform into Black Pepper. I thought his sudden stumble coming up with a superhero name was funny. It's interesting that his identity is mysterious at this point. He's not known to the girls or Rosemary yet. He's a mysterious figure and like not necessarily fighting like side by side with them yet. He's also at this point not really in on the group hangouts. He kind of just views Yui and her friends from the outside looking in. I wonder if that's something that's gonna change as suggested from the opening. What I hope to see more of, becoming more in with their friend group. Less of the creeper spying. I understand right now he's just protecting his identity. Romance. If they're going to do it, I'd rather them go full on. I'm not a fan of the half-assed romance plots like the love and the daisuke. Oh my gosh. I hated it. It just felt like it took away from the story so much, and it didn't really add anything. And then at the end of it, I can't get into into it. Pretty Cure is capable of doing romance well, like they were able to do with Yukari and Akira, though I haven't seen Happiness Charge yet, and I hear a lot of people have opinions on the Happiness Charge romance, so I don't know, we'll see. Next up is Rosemary. I have absolutely loved his presence in this season. He's always there helping the girls, whether it's to give friendship advice or to help them with his defensive moves in battle. He's always keeping their surroundings in Oishina town safe, putting up the delicious field anytime that they have to battle, which makes me wonder what would happen if he weren't there to do that, and I wonder if that's something that they would explore in later episodes. I love how silly he can be. He's provided a lot of the jokes and like comic relief of this season while still remaining very grounded. What I hope to see more of: Rosemary's background. What are his personal motivations? If he has any family. I'd like to see more of his powers, and I want to see more of what he can do and what he's capable of. But every time he fights, his delicious stone cracks, so maybe there are some limitations to what he's able to do. Next character is Ran. I almost forgot that her debut was when she was in the restaurants and she would eat the food that would end up getting spoiled. Poor Ran. Ran has been a really fun member of the team. She has her own social anxieties, but she comes off as a bit more outspoken. I found her coming to learn the downsides of social media to be really interesting. When Gentle was essentially stalking her Kirsta, it really made her rethink and re-strategize how she uses social media entirely. I liked how that wasn't a one-off episode, and the continuation of that was present in episodes following that one. Speaking of her anxieties, I felt that the story of her feeling alienated from other kids for having a lot of passion for her interests was very real. It reminded me a lot of Himari from Kira Kira. And then there was Rosemary helping her realize that having passions isn't a weird thing, or being weird is a wonderful thing. What I hope to see more of: Ron's home life and her personal life. We only learned about her family and her siblings through flash cuts, so it would be interesting to see more of them and see the pieces that make Ron. Next member is Kokone. When Kokone is introduced, we immediately get that she is that trope of the blue cure coming from a lot of money. But like most blue cures, there is more to her than meets the eye. She hasn't made close friends in the past, and when she gets the opportunity to do that with Yui, she's super nervous and reading books about how to make friends. It's all very endearing, and I think part of this is just how Yui is someone who people yearn to be friends with, but I'll get to that in a second. I like that through meeting Yui and Ron and Rosemary, she's learning about friendship, and she's learning that it's okay to express herself and her opinions. Like when she thought she was being too forward about how to apply makeup with Rosemary, and just generally learning that it's okay and that she can relax with these friends and they're not going to judge her for not being perfect. I just love her. I think she's my favorite this season. What I hope to see more of: home life is something that we've only seen bits and pieces of as well. We kind of understand that her parents aren't home all the time, so Todoroki, her butler, is there to take her places that she needs to go. I think this is likely to happen, but to see more of her growth and her ability to make friends, I think it'd be really sweet to see her improvements there. Yui is our main character. She's introduced with a strong resolve from the very beginning. She drops all her groceries and runs down the hill to get the baby carriage that's rolling down. What I love about Yui is that she's a people attractor, which tends to be the case for a lot of pink cures. She just seems to be the core of this team. She cares a lot about her friends and their well-being, and she cares about food and how it affects the people around her. Essentially, she wants everyone to have a good relationship with food. On one hand, I love these things about her, but on the same token, it's become sort of a detriment, unfortunately. I don't want to use too heavy of a word. We're only halfway in the show. We're still early on, so it could definitely change. But I feel as though Yui hasn't had her own personal development. I think it's really lovely that her focus is always on her friends, but I think her own personal development has been sacrificed a bit because of this. Like, we learn about her home life and a lot about her grandmother through her quotes about food. I think you could argue that we know more about Yui's home life than anyone else's, but we've yet to see Yui face any personal conflicts. And there's definitely still room for that. It's not too late. At the same time, I don't really know where they would have fit it in within the episodes we've already had. I don't think any episode we've had thus far has been wasteful or filler. It's just kind of a shame that Yui has ended up with the short end of the stick. And again, it's going to be a question of the omitted episodes and whether or not there was any content in those. What I hope to see more of, I think it's obvious, just some more personal character growth. And I don't mean to see her like sad or like hurt or anything like that, just for her to face some sort of challenge so that she can have a pivotal moment of her own. I'm gonna talk about the villains for a bit. We know that Godat seems to be the leader, but we haven't seen his true form as of yet. We don't know if he's a person, a machine. He's just a face for right now. Then there's Secretoru, who we mostly know for just being really sarcastic. I'm not sure if we've even seen her battle the Cures yet. So, I mean, Narcissistoru is probably the most interesting villain to me so far. He was the most cynical about Gentle being a puppet. He seems like the most evil of the villains. I'd love to know more of his motivations. I'd love to see more about his own relationship with food. He seemed really personally like disgusted when Rosemary was telling him about Gentle, and he said she loves food and that's why the recipes love her. He seemed very personally hurt or grossed out by this, so maybe it was just me. So I'd love to get to know more about him. As for the fairies, I'm always a fairy lover. Kokone is my favorite. Oh, have you guys seen the preview for the Delicious Party movie? Did you see the fairies and how they seem to like transform? Storytelling. About the storytelling, I've been liking it a lot so far. It feels like there's a lot of lore in this season, just small tidbits here and there. I think the biggest mystery that we've been given so far is regarding Takumi and his father Monpei. We learn that he's from the Cook Kingdom and he ends up entrusting Takumi with his delicious stone. So we know that he served as a cook fighter in some way in the past, and his alter ego was Cinnamon. There are a lot of unanswered questions here. Like, why did Monpei run away from the Cook Kingdom? My theory is that he could have been accused for something that he didn't do. When Rosemary is told by Amane that the Bunduru gang were the people who stole the recipe book in the past, and that it wasn't Cinnamon who stole it. Rosemary wants to apologize to Cinnamon and tries to do so through Black Pepper. Takumi acts like he doesn't know who Cinnamon is. Maybe his father told him every detail about his past, so then Takumi is now protecting both of their identities. Or maybe it was Cinnamon who stole the book, and maybe Cinnamon was also brainwashed by the Bunduru gang. Like, there are a lot of, like, it's just, there are so many unanswered questions here. We will probably be seeing that definitely in the future episodes. Very interesting. All in all, I think I've been enjoying this season a lot. Probably more than I enjoyed Tropical Rouge immediately. I don't want to compare them because Tropical Rouge had Laura. I like the motif, the overall importance of food in the show, like not skipping meals and how food builds community and memories. There are still some aspects that are missing, as I've mentioned, but I still think it's not too late. I think the storytelling and the world building in this season has been quite great. And the fights, honestly, fights aren't something that I've ever really been super picky about. I don't really get annoyed if a fight is too short, but I do love a good fight scene and a good choreography, and I've been super impressed by all of the fight animations. I don't think I've been disappointed yet. I also want to say that I love the art style, and I'm a fan of the character designer of this season, Yufu Kyoko. She's about my age, and I think she just gets it. I think in doing this, it's important to sum up your thoughts in the middle of the show, like as things are going, not just at the end. It's not just to see what the season is missing, but also to see how far things have come. It's like sometimes I forget things that happen, so looking at everything in the middle is kind of like a refresher. That's all I have for this video. If you liked this, be sure to subscribe. I have more content coming. Bye! I have a Kuririn plush, but that's for another day.